And I want to say thank you to our veterans, active duty military, and first responders for serving our great nation. You're listening to Highways and Byways. And hi there, welcome to Highways and Byways. I'm Chris Carlisle, your host. And this week I want to tell you about what I did summertime back when I was going to school. Now, this summer before I went into the first grade, my parents got divorced not long after I got out of kindergarten. And also around that time, my grandpa retired from Hughes Tool, and he and my grandma moved back to Rosebud, and we moved into their house in Jacinto City, Texas. And of course, we did spend time with our dad. He took us on a trip to Brownwood, where our grandmother was from, his mother. We stayed with our uncle, her brother, and our aunt, and we also met some of our cousins. And also at that time was when the bicentennial was going on. My mama got sick right as school was getting out of the first grade and going into the summer before the second grade. So we didn't stay with our grandparents for a couple of weeks. We did go to Brownwood again with our dad. After Mom got well, she got a job at a car rental agency called Airways. It was across the street from Hobby Airport. And we stayed at a daycare center called Kitty Shack. They called it that because a Radio Shack store used to be there. And people would come into this daycare looking for the Radio Shack. Mom worked there sometimes to earn extra money. Singer Elvis Presley died on August 16th, 1977. I think I watched one of his movies a few weeks before, or a year before. Now, my mama was also sick the summer we got out of second grade and before I went into third grade. And we spent a couple weeks with our grandparents. We also would spend a week with our dad. We stayed in Houston that time, and he took us to the zoo. I also went and saw the movie Detective. I went to some Astros game. They gave away belts and backpacks. Mom must have worked for Airway Car Rental. This time she worked at their office in a hotel called the Albert Pick, which I think was part of the Best Western chain. In the summer before the fourth grade, she didn't get sick this time, and she got a job at a daycare that we went to. They took us on some field trips. We went to Ciarama in Galveston and the Johnson Space Center and other places. We also went to Bear Creek Park and a ranch outside of Houston that I think the people who ran the daycare owned. And we went and saw some movies too. They took us to see the Apple Dumpling Gang right again. I think I went and saw the original Apple Dumpling Gang earlier. Not with the daycare, but with somebody else. I went and saw The Villain. I also went and saw a fireworks display for the 4th of July. I went to some more Astros games. I got a t-shirt at one game. I didn't go to the daycare all the time. I did stay home sometimes by myself and watch reruns. Even washed dishes one day. A kid who lived a couple of apartments down from us had a paper route, and we were kind of friends with him, and my mom even invited them over for dinner a couple of times. And I watched some Oilers preseason games, the MLB All-Star game from Seattle, won by the National League. I even watched the Indy 500, and I watched President Carter's speech that came to be known as the Malaise speech. The summer before the 5th grade was the last one when we still lived in Houston. We spent a week with my dad. He took me to see The Empire Strikes Back. and we went to another fireworks show. By the way, my dad also took us to see a fireworks show in 1978 in Jacinto City on the 4th of July, and also learned to ride a bike. We had to go to Rosebud because it looked like a hurricane was headed for Galveston. Now, our first summer in Rosebud was the summer of 1981. I went to a vacation Bible school. We went fishing at a place owned by a friend of our mom's. He had been in an accident where he lost a couple of limbs. And I also watched the All-Star game after the baseball strike ended. And I also watched the Rangers on TV and coverage of the royal wedding between then Prince Charles and Lady Di. Now, 1982 was the summer before I went into the 7th grade. I got a new bike. Also went to Houston to see my dad and some my aunt and uncle and cousins. I didn't go to any, but I did watch the Astros and Rangers on TV. Also watched the game of the week on NBC and Monday Night Baseball on ABC. And I watched the All-Star game from Montreal on ABC. First time it was played outside of the U.S. And it was on a youth baseball team. That's all I'm going to say about that. And I also went and saw the Texas Rangers Museum in Waco for the first time. That's the Rangers were the lawmen, not the baseball team. And we also moved to a new house. 1983 was the summer before I went into the 8th grade. And our mom took us on a trip to San Antonio. We saw the Alamo and the Riverwalk. My sister wanted to go swimming, so I went down to the pool with her. And the hotel was on the Feeder Street or Service Road, however you say it, by I-35. And as a truck was going off the exit ramp, its trailer turned over. Nobody got hurt, and the driver was able to walk over to the motel. And somebody went and told the desk clerk, and they called 911. Well, they didn't have 911 back then. They called the police and fire department. I had a root canal that year too. But the day the dentist that we went to just found out I probably needed to have a root canal, he actually referred me to another dentist who did the root canal. That same, my mom sent me to see Return of the Jedi. That was before I had the root canal. And I also went to a couple of Astros and Rangers games. At the Astros game, I saw Nolan Ryan pitch, and I saw the San Diego Chicken at the Rangers game, and met WBAP DJ Hal J. WBAP was their flagship back then on radio. And I went on another trip to Brownwood with my dad. My grandparents sold stuff at flea markets in Franklin and Calvert, Texas, and a few other places. And we went a few times. Now, the summer before I went into high school was 1984. My grandma had to have heart surgery. She had a triple bypass, and she made it and lived 19 more years. She passed away in 2003 at the age of 84. And I got to spend time with my dad in Houston. He took me to see Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Later on, he took me and my sister to Astroworld. And we went to some Rangers games. There was a walk-off home run at one of them. The Rangers won. I watched the Olympics. Also watched some of the NBA Finals. The Boston Celtics won in 7 games over the Los Angeles Lakers. I also watched the MLB All-Star Game. They had the GOP convention in Dallas as it was an election year. President Reagan and Vice President Bush were nominated for a second term. The Democrats had their convention a month earlier in San Francisco. They nominated former Vice President Walter Mondale for president and Congresswoman Geraldine Ferraro for vice president. Congresswoman Ferraro became the first woman on a major ticket. Now, before I went in the trade, my mom had to have cancer surgery, but when she got better, she took me and my sister to see Back to the Future. I also went to the first Rosebud reunion, and we also went on a day trip to San Marcos and went to Aquarina Springs. In the summer before my junior year, we went to our dad's, and that was the first week after school got out. I went back again by myself. My sister had gone the first time, just before school started. I got to watch the Houston Rockets in the NBA Finals, and they lost to the Boston Celtics in 6 games. We also went to the San Antonio Zoo, Six Flags, the Old Wax Museum in Grand Prairie that burned to the ground. They've since rebuilt it, and I've been there many times since, to the new one. And I went to a Rangers game, went and saw the movie Top Gun. They played the MLB All-Star game in Houston. Roger Clemens of the Boston Red, then with the Red Sox, who was from Katy, was the MVP. In the summer before my senior year, I was a PA announcer for the youth baseball and softball in Rosebud, and I got to go to a Rangers game. Went and saw the movie La Bamba about a singer named Richie Valens who was killed in the same plane crash that killed Buddy Holly and the Big Bopper. And I had to get a booster shot. Well, before I go, here's a Bible verse. It's from the 46th Psalm, chapter 1. It says, God is a refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Thank you for listening. Thanks for listening to Highways and Byways. Highways and Byways is a presentation of Chris Carlisle's podcast, and is produced, hosted, and written by Chris Carlisle. Thank you and have a good time.